another episode of LanceScurv. I'm glad to be here, and it's a wonderful time to be alive. And you're saying, wait a second, why are you saying that? There's so much bad things going on in the world, so many bad things happening to people, so much craziness at an all-time high, so many demons and devils and spirits moving across the earth. And I'm saying it's a good time to be alive. Yes, it is. Let me get a sound check from everybody, or anybody who just came in. Let me just check here. Okay, I think the sound is good. And I always have to check because sometimes there have been shows in the past where I've gotten on and got down talking and making some good points and nobody heard it because the sound was off. So I hope everybody is in a good state mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. And we're not always going to be perfect. Sometimes we're going to feel down, but that only means we can go up. And we're never going to have it perfect all the time. So if you don't feel up to par on any one of those levels, just know that you can always rise up, and you will. Trust me, you're made to excel. Anyway, let me come on over here and move to another part of my screen before I start yapping away. I had fun last night. First show back live all the way, put in about 2 hours. This may not be as long because I had a long day, but I'm going to be consistent. I promise you that. I'm going to make sure to always be here over and above to be consistent, which, as you well know, we have a lot of things going on over here in West Africa, and we're moving at a pleasing pace. And I want to thank you all for your words of encouragement and positivity. If you do hear noise in the background, even though it's 9:32 p.m., we still have some work going on. So you might hear a drill or a hammer or some loud noise. Fret not, we are safe where we are. The only thing I want to do is put on a little mosquito repellent, because a mosquito bite can be quite deadly out in these parts. And we don't mean all mosquitoes, but enough of them. And you know, I had a little bout with mosquitoes years ago, back in 2019, where I almost lost my life from malaria. I'm going to put this microphone down. I'm going to simultaneously take care of both things and multitask right now. Yeah, you know, I say it's a good time to be alive because, you know, and I have to be reminded of this, and I had to be reminded of this. Like I say, I have a very dear sister in my life that, you know, she reminds me where the double yellow lines are. And not to say, hey, I don't understand you, you know, for thinking the way you do, or maybe feeling the way you do, but just understand that there's so much more. You know, we need to focus on the good stuff. But I always talk about the bad stuff. We all need to know where the double yellow lines are in our life, but we can't focus on it. We can't keep thinking, if I cross the double yellow lines and go over into oncoming traffic, I'm going to have a head-on collision. Well, if you keep saying that, your hands will take over from what your brain is saying, and you might find yourself on that side of the road. You know what I mean? So you have to understand that when we look at the news programs, what is it really there for? What's the slant on what it's telling us? Is it to make us feel good? It's not their responsibility to make us feel good, but it's our responsibility to make us feel good, right? So we need to filter the stuff, filter it out, and reason with it, you know, because fear is big business in our society. They can manipulate us so easily. There could be a storm, a tropical storm, right? Coming across the Atlantic, right along the path of the slave ships. I just think that's such poetic justice. And I'm on this side where, you know, we're like throwing the bowling ball over there and the pins are in Florida. I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but it's sure nice to not have to be concerned about, oh, hurricane warning. Is this going to be a big one, right? But really and truly, places like Home Depot, places like Lowe's, if you're not an American, don't know those stores, those are home improvement stores, really huge, big box stores, as they would call it. And they have all the products you need to improve your home or do hobby projects, small projects, large projects, but it's not the end all cure all, right? It's not a specialty shop. And many decades ago, I used to work there. But I noticed how, you know, say, for example, it was one night I was watching the television. Yes, and I used to watch TV too, and I still do. But I have a strong filter on my mind to keep certain things from permeating and to make me think a certain way, right? But I just thought it was so funny how people don't put two and two together. all of a sudden you see the newscaster come on, and tonight we're going to warn you of an oncoming storm. It seems to be ever increasing, and it just has the possibility of being a category 5. Our radars and our detection systems, it's a category 1 now, but by the time it gets closer to the coast of Florida, it just might be a category 5 storm. And this trajectory at this point can go up the east coast of Florida. It can go into the Gulf. It's a wide swatch right now, but as it gets closer, it's going to narrow down, and these are the possibilities. This segment has been brought to you by Home Depot. Well, guess what? Home Depot is going to make sure to keep the pockets of the different news channels, full. Why? Because when it comes down to the weather and it comes down to a hurricane, we depend on, or they depend on, the weatherman to put fear in you and amp it up. I mean, I've seen it time and time again. So now if you're scared that it might be a category 5 hurricane and bring all of this destruction, what are you going to do? You're going to make sure to go out and purchase plywood to put over your windows. You're going to make sure to get candles. You're going to make sure to get batteries for the flashlight. You're going to make sure that you're set just in case disaster comes your way. And usually it doesn't. Now, sometimes it does. And you go to Home Depot or Lowe's to get plywood into the lumber yard, and they're all sold out. So stay stocked up so you don't have to be in panic mode when they're trying to put fear in you for their own profit. Think about it. Who's sponsoring the news? Yes, Peaceful Pulley. Welcome on in. Peace. Much love to you. I'm glad you're here. After they took the channel down, we have to take our time and come back up and do these lives and get people used to it again, and it's refreshing because this particular channel is not shadow banned. It's not shadow, it's a fresh start. And I love it. So all the experience I have, I'm gonna take my time and just build it up again and have fun and not look at the grass growing or the paint drying. Just enjoy it, because everything will come around again. Everything is cyclical and sometimes a little sick. Yeah. So the title of this, we have no one else to blame but ourselves. And I said Black America. And what are we looking at on this particular screen? It doesn't look too straight now, does it? Got a couple of flags back there kind of letting us know what's going on over here. Well, the other day, was it today or yesterday? I'm not sure. But there was a riot. And I was going to play it, but I didn't want to really risk it, this whole show being taken down. Yeah. Oh yeah, philosophy of hustle to Don. Yes, that's what happened. They shot down the channel, but I have all the content, and I'll be uploading slowly but surely and repurposing things. So they got me, but they didn't get me. You know what I mean? And it was a unique situation. I explained it already before, but I'll maybe later on or tomorrow explain it again. It was a definite hit, because they definitely want to hit you. But I guess they're mad now. It's like, dang, this guy still has this content. And everything within, a few more, I wouldn't say a few more days, but I'll say a few more weeks. It's going to be spectacular. We're working on something now that I let the cat out the bag a while before, but no, I'm so happy. I'll just say it, my studio, we're working on it now. That's why I said, if you hear some noise in the background, they're just starting it. And that's the first part that I want done. So my equipment can be in there and not get hit by so much dust when the other parts are done, because we're slowly but surely putting the icing on the cake. And that's not me telling my business. This is what I came out here for. That's part of it. Yeah, that's part of it. A new start, new perspectives, all the time in the world to do what it is that I want to do. I love it. I worked hard for this all my life. I'm not 21 years old anymore. I'm 40 years over that. I'm 61. I feel good. I'm taking care of myself, and the best is yet to come. Exactly. Philosophy of hustle to die. Keep on building, because they couldn't take away what was there before. So we will be having a lot of oldies but goodies, some shows that from way back that most people have forgotten, or depending on when you came along on this platform, you might not have heard them ever. So I have it under the podcast episodes playlist, and I'll be uploading another couple thousand of them that I have on there. Now, you might not see the video, but you will hear the audio, which might make it a little better. Boxing matches we watch these days, and we see it, and it's not so satisfying in comparison to back in the 40s and 50s when folks would sit around in their living room and Joe Louis hit him with a left and Joe Louis hit him with a right, and you can see it better, right? That's just the way it is sometimes, right? But I'm very happy about that, and progress is definitely being made. But there was a riot in New York City, in Washington Square Park. Washington Square Park. Now, we know the Village, or if you don't know New York City, you know, I'm a born and raised New Yorker, and I can tell you every corner, nook, and cranny of that place. As a matter of fact, some friends of mine who don't really get around that much, they will call me on the phone. Lance, how do I get to this spot up in the Bronx, man? Remember you used to take me up there? I want to go up there. Now, mind you, I have not lived in New York City since 2001. I've visited back several times, but I'm so saturated with New York in my subconscious mind that when I dream New York. I lived in Orlando, Florida for 19 years. I lived in New York for 38 years and change. And I'm out here in Africa now. I don't dream about Africa when I'm here. I love Africa. I dreamt about it before I came here, right, in Ghana. But the bottom line is, when I dream, it's like I'm back in New York. Isn't that weird? It's not a subconscious desire to want to come back or go back. Yeah, I miss certain people, I miss certain places, but those people, lots of them are gone. They've transitioned and they moved away. So it's a little different for me. But the thing is, I'll tell them a direction, right? And I was telling one of the guys who's doing work for me how it happened. And they would say, listen, give me directions. I say, okay, you go down this street, you're going to see a McDonald's on the left-hand side. You turn left. You go down about 5 more blocks, and you're going to see this corner store bodega, right? And you turn right and go 2 more blocks, and you'll find your destination on the right-hand side. But when you turn at that bodega, you're going to see 3 dudes out there. It's going to be one that has an army fatigue jacket, another one who has a vest on, like he's waving a flag for traffic when they're doing construction, and the other one's just going to have on jeans and probably a black shirt. How do you know that? This is 2024. You left in 2001. I'm like, listen, you know some of the brothers that hang out in the street corner all the time, they don't change. They just get a little gray beard if they have a beard or a little hair. Nothing changes. You turned the corner and saw them too. I said, tell them Lance said hi. Yep, that's it is. That's the way it is with creatures of habit. And sometimes that could be a good thing when we program ourselves to have habits for good things. But it could be a bad thing when we have habits for bad things. We have to reprogram ourselves. But this riot, I don't know how it started. I didn't want to really dig deep into the fact that it was a riot at a gay pride kind of gathering. I think they do this now the whole month of June, right? It used to be on certain days. I think it was 21st, 22nd or something like that, or this particular weekend. Now, in New York City, whenever they do anything, they do it big. They do it intense. Now, Greenwich Village has been known to be a safe haven for the homosexual community, right? But Greenwich Village, aside from that, is a very nice place. The nice restaurants, the nice shops, the old school feel with certain streets that are cobblestone, narrow streets, laid back, nobody bothers anybody. That's the Greenwich Village that I know. And I've never been iffy around different types of people. I'd rather not on a certain level where people are trying to ogle you and trying to, oh, what a waste of manhood. No, I don't want to hear that. I'm down here as a human being. I never had no problems. Matter of fact, that was the perfect place to meet pretty young ladies because the men weren't interested. if they saw you looking a certain way, like, hey, he ain't like that. And I remember too, in Washington Square Park, which back then you had homosexuals all over, but it wasn't about them that way. Now I'll say, coming up through the years, it has gotten to be a very vicious thing, an aggressive thing with that particular type of lifestyle. We saw them, but they weren't the majority, but you left them alone and you treat them like human beings. Everything was cool. But they didn't go overboard with foolishness unless you rarely saw somebody drunk and they get into a fight. And this show is not about talking about them as a lifestyle. This is just a starting point for us as Black people. I just want to pivot off of these things and freestyle it a little bit. But it was nice. It really was. It really was. There was a falafel shop like a quarter of the block away from one particular corner of Washington Square Park. And here's a footnote. Next to the falafel shop, there is a cafe called Cafe, I don't know if I'm saying it right, Regio, Cafe Regio or Cafe Regio. And if you know about Cafe Regio or Reggio, in the movie Shaft, back from 1971, there's a cut on the album, a song dedicated to them. And in the movie Shaft, I think they had something to do with one of the scenes there, right? And it's still there now to this day. And next to it was a falafel shop. I'm not sure if it's still there. It was there when I went up to New York City. And I think that was 2019. I think it was. I don't think I came up there after that. Yeah, 2019 in July. And I was healing up from the malaria. And I said, you know what? I'm not gonna let this stop me. I'm a little weak still, recuperating, but I'm going. We going. Sometimes activity is the best way to knock off or sickness or help your healing, because the circulation is a great thing, you know. So back then in Washington Square Park, they had a lot of dudes out there selling weed, and the cops never really bothered them, only on certain nights. You know what I mean? But it was nice. You can go out there and sit down on the bench. You might see somebody playing the flute. You might see somebody telling jokes or riding a unicycle like I do, right? And it was laid back, and time didn't matter. It was timeless. The summertime was really nice. If you didn't mind seeing two dudes holding hands every now and then or whatever have you. If you ignored that and you had a nice young lady with you and you went to a nice restaurant, and I think it was about maybe 2 blocks away, 3 blocks away, they had a restaurant called BBQ. BBQ. And I remember, I think the price was at that time, and this is in the early 80s, I'm picking on it because I knew the village all my life. Because, you know, my father had his own business, and we would go to different job sites, landmark properties where he maintained the floors. And one of them was on Christopher Street. So it's like I'm used to seeing that kind of crazy stuff from young. And my father had to explain to me why that lady over there looks like she was 6'2" with size 14 pumps with an Adam's apple that looked like a golf ball. So I was acclimated and I understood. So I wasn't really touchy. You understand? So you can go out there nighttime, and it was just nice walk, and you felt safe. And in my time coming up, things were getting a little more dangerous, but it's still, I caught the tail end of that bohemian. I'm not talking about no Grove now, but just that laid back, you are who you are. I'm not bothering you. I'm living my life type thing, but I'm here to help you if you need me. There are a lot of nice people out there, regardless as to what they were all into. But the BBQs, I think the price was don't let me mess it up and get it wrong. I think it was $4.99 or $3.99 at the time. Where you got a full chicken, huge scoops of mashed potatoes if you wanted with corn or any kind of starch that you wanted. Maybe they gave you French fries, I think. But the whole chicken deal, and I was bodybuilding. I had membership to a gym around the corner. Well, not really around the corner, but on 4th Avenue and 11th Street called Natural Physique Center. I had a membership in several gyms when I was competing. Just had to mention their name when you got up on stage. So anyway, it was a beautiful thing, and you could, you see funny things. You see people who had a little bit of mental illness or people who had little issues, but you would hang out not just right there, but you might till the sun comes up. Then you go eat breakfast. Remember, the city never sleeps. So that's why my mind is the way it is. But that was a beautiful time. But then now we have riots like this happen. And I saw some vicious fights out there. It wasn't just that we had to wait till 2024 for me to hear about something like this. But they did have drugs out there way back in the day. But it's not like it is now. And this younger generation of men who happen to be Black and who happen to be LGBTQ, I got a problem with the fact that overall our Black masculinity has been unhinged and we're not doing the right thing. So I have to, like the military now, the U.S. military has to lower their standards. Now, I'm not lowering my standards and condoning certain things. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't chop this up and make it seem like it's something that is different. When I say lower my standards, like the US military, who they didn't want you to have certain tattoos on your face and on your neck, you couldn't join the military with that. If you had certain mild offenses with the law, I don't think you could have had a felony, but certain misdemeanors are kind of heavy too. There were certain things that you couldn't have on your record if you wanted to join the military. Now, when I say I'm lowering my standards, they were lowering their standards so that they can open up more of a window to have more candidates that were eligible now that you took certain things away. So with me and black gay men, listen, whatever you are, I'm going to call it out, and you won't have to wonder how I think or how I feel. Even if you call yourself a gay black man, I'm going to lower my standards. I'm not mad at you for doing whatever. That's your dilemma. But you still owe something to the black community. Because anybody who is of age, older than me at 61 or even younger, you can think back to a time. And I'm going to say it in a funny way, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm a comedian. We all know who the Tutti Frutti was. We all knew. But you know what? The Tutti Frutti would jump out in the street and grab that little 5-year-old from running out in the street after a ball so he didn't get run over. That Tutti Frutti would break up a fight on the way home. Didn't bother with nobody. Coming home from work, walked a little funny, talked a little high pitch, but there was a fight going on between two 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds, and it could have been deadly. And he jumped in the middle. See, you owe something to your community because you're a man. You're a male. Okay, I don't want to say man, right? Man means something. Let's not dilute that. But you are a black man. And you owe something. You should be one of those sentinels that look far over the mountain for any dispute, for any problem. Don't forget your sisters. Just because you feel you don't desire them to get intimate with them, you're supposed to love them. And you know what? They're supposed to love you. And you know what? We don't know what made them to be the way that they are. And we are supposed to love them. That's what I mean. I shouldn't have said lowering my standards. I should say alter it a little bit. You know what I mean? So we got changes to go through because we have to get to a certain point. We need everybody now on board. We know we all messed up some kind of way. Am I saying they're messed up and they're going to get mad at me? Whatever. No, I'm saying this, even aside from that, we're all messed up. We all have some type of dysfunction on us. We all had some type of trauma that we went through. We all are the way we are because of things that have affected us in our life. So right now, at this particular time in my life, I'm not going to sit here and try to psychoanalyze everybody and rate everybody, because you know what? If a car ran over me, I would like for somebody else to pull me out of the road so another one doesn't. You see what I mean? So I'm not condoning things. I'm not softening up. I'm not whatever. We all know how I stand, what I feel, and I'm not going to say believe, what I know to be the truth in the straight line on that level. And look, to be honest, I've always known what the straight and narrow was, but did that stop me from having multiple girlfriends at the same time, at the actual same time too? Hey, is that right? No. They might have been down with it, right? But is it right? I've never played with nobody's feelings that way. But we all have things we have to clean up. Because when we're out of our bodies, certain things won't matter. You know, dudes walking around, and they feel like, yeah, man, I'm hung low, man. What happens when you leave your body and your body goes back to the earth and you don't have a dick no more? So if your true manhood is based on the size of your penis, you sad, because that's only malehood. That comes standard for some people, and not everybody is hung down to the knee. And you have some who are hung down to the knee, and they think that's all that it takes. And then you got a guy whose private parts looks like a pawn shop sign, 3 balls, one so small. You can't tell the difference. There was I shouldn't get lewd like this. I'm gonna say it. There was a young lady who wanted to administer oral delights to this friend of mine who was not endowed at all, and she started performing on one of the balls because she thought that. I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know." That's what I was like, "Man, you told me that." I'm gonna repeat that. I'm not gonna say who it is. But we put too much weight on that. And we need ourselves to be right for our overall community. And when we fail at this point, we have no one else to blame but ourselves. No one else. We can only blame certain things for so long. We know what happened to us. We know how we've been set back mentally, spiritually, and sometimes physically. But when now are we not going to use that anymore and take accountability for the jacked up things that we continue to do? And then we turn around and blame it on other things. You see what I mean? It's like a person who is a molester of children. And that's sad. And they say usually that person was molested when they were younger. Isn't that something? So when are we going to stop? And I'm not saying everybody's a molester, but there are things that we have learned to do from what we've been exposed to. And we go ahead when we get older and perpetuate the same thing. So whatever it may be for you, we don't have to know. You don't have to tell us. But I always say now, look within. We know the world is jacked up the way it is. We came into the world. It's a beautiful place, but it can be jacked up and evil depending on your experiences. And guess what? Pretty much, we're going to be out of this place. And a lot of these things are still going to be going on. There's going to be gay parades. There's going to be gay riots at the parade. There's going to be people selling drugs. There's going to be folks having overdoses. There's going to be folks who are just broken down and they can't function at 100%. We can't focus on those things now all the way. Yes, there is healing, and we have to talk healing. We have to talk restoration and see what we can be. Look at the potential and work on it to bring about a reality. But before we do that, we have to have accountability. We have to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, we know what's happening here. We know what's happening there. We watch the news. They're dropping bombs. They're fighting. Diseases are being spread. People are being racist toward other people. But what is it within my inner circle, within my reach, within my path that I can do to make my world and the world overlapping with other people better? You see what I mean? So this is why I've altered my standards. But I want to focus and think about Black men. What have we turned into? And I made this illustration to illustrate the riot. It wasn't a riot where it was like 100 people trampled or something like that. There were random fights and it got kind of heavy. And you know, now we have smartphones and there's always recordings going on. And they had women that were fighting. They were dudes in each other's face and whatever. But yet and still, look what you're doing to each other in the community that you say that you're in. And you say in the gay community, we need to unite and all, and look what y'all fighting. You're never going to be happy with certain things until you really get right from within. Never. No matter what you call yourself, no matter what religion, what lifestyle, whatever, until you cleanse yourself at the core. Brother Landon, welcome on in, Landon Price. Good to see you. But until you cleanse yourself at the core, and let me tell you something, that's not easy at all. So imagine, you know, we absorb so much when we're younger, 5 years old, 6 years old, you know, what we consider normalcy. And it may not be the standard of what we should be around. Because even though we look up to our mothers and our fathers or whoever raised us, our aunt or grandmother, they're God at first. We say God, we don't know what God is. The supreme being. The first thing when something happens in school, I want my mommy, I want my daddy. That's the closest thing to God at that particular point that you can conceptualize, right? But as you get older and you overhear things and you see little things, you begin to see the flaws in the people who are older than you, who you would go to for instruction, and you would see things. And as you go and compare in the world what is, you say, oh wow. And sometimes it hurts when you see someone who's a mother or father, an elder, or even a neighbor or somebody who you looked up to, and you realize they have a weakness. You realize that they have their own demons. I don't mean some ugly demon with horns, whatever, things that they're struggling with. You see what I mean? We're all human. We're all in a mess. I'm not saying you're in a mess, but we're affected by what goes on in this world. Listen, if you go and spend the night in a garbage dumpster, and you're clean, you have cologne on, and you scrub down and you groomed and everything is just right. But you go inside this dumpster that's stinking. What you think? When you come out, what you gonna be? Stinking. And so we have gone against divine order. Like, I'm not talking nothing about no religion. It's just something in us that knows what's right and what's wrong and what we should be resisting. And we go right into it. But in our community, where are the black men? What happened? And why are so many not focused on what's important to build ourselves as a community? What happened? In this illustration, you see 3 black men screaming and arguing at a pride parade, kind of reflecting on what happened within the last few days, because that went viral. Why is this, whatever they're arguing about? I know it's based on some gay stuff. Why is that so important? Why? When your sisters are getting raped, why is it so important? When you have a grandmother or a great grandmother who needs to go to the hospital for a regular appointment to keep her health up, and she neglects it because she doesn't have enough money. But here you are buying expensive shoes, buying expensive stuff. Why can't we chip in and make sure that we keep that granny or that great granny healthy? There are kids out there who are walking around in the street, don't know where their mama is. Mama went out and left because she's on crack. And she has to go out there and, slob some knobs to get some money for the drug, and leaves the kids home, and they find a way to open the door and they're in the middle of the street crying. And now they take those kids away from her. We're unraveling. These stories are not new. This is 2024. We can go back to 2014 and look in the news, the old newspapers, all the stuff on the internet, and find the same story. 2004, the same story. 1994, the same story. 1984, the same story. Now in 74, we didn't have crack. We had heroin. But why is it that we're not getting it? We're not getting it. And we're low on the totem pole when you compare us to other races. Now they got their stuff too. They're crackheads, they're thieves, they're bums. In most races, yeah. Anything closest to the American ideal will have that. But you don't see other races from other countries who have that family unit intact go through such things. And we are great. We can't figure it out. We can't figure it out. You can sit yourself in a Lamborghini and go on the street next to an old Toyota Corolla. And that Toyota Corolla can beat that Lamborghini. Not because the Toyota Corolla is faster than the Lamborghini. No. But the person behind the wheel can know how to drive better than that person who's a neophyte when it comes to racing. So you can have all the education in the world. You can come from the best family in your community. When you go out on your own, it's not going to help you unless you make the right decisions and hold yourself accountable. And you can spiral downward, wasting your energy with endeavors that mean nothing. That's not going to mean anything to the people in your community. But we don't think beyond. We don't think beyond. We think about now, the creature comforts. And so now we're going to get off the gay thing, right? It wasn't about just gay men, but all men. For a while, I couldn't say no to a beautiful woman. Some of them were a little ugly, but they had beautiful bodies. But what's that doing for the overall community? I'd rather that be a vice than me being an alcoholic, but then again, that's not good either. So we all got to check ourselves. And I'm so thankful to have people around me that have shared their stories or their perspectives or their inner things. And I will take those things with me to the grave. I'll never violate anybody that way. Now, if you come at me and violate me, and it might be a different story. But accountability. Why? Why don't we have it? It's quite evident. I remember, and I said this story before, and a lot of the stories that are gone, Not gone, but it'll be a while before they're uploaded again. But little girl would get on a bus with her mother. Maybe it's two or three little girls, or maybe a brother and two little girls, 6 years old, 5 years old, 4 years old. And you see one of the little girls staring at me. They're sitting toward the front. Mother's on the phone talking, but the little kid's staring in amazement. And I'm kind of side-eyeing it. Like, okay, a little more than usual. Like she knew me or something. You know, the little kid, you never know what they're thinking. The mother got off the phone. This happened a couple times, not exactly the same, but pretty much. The little girl would say, "Mommy, mommy, is that my daddy?" I was like, oh, snap. But that little kid said, just in those short few words, "Mommy, is that my daddy?" Told me the whole story. And she looked around to see who heard that. Now, most people were preoccupied with their headphones or looking down in the phone, reading something or talking on the phone. Nobody heard it, but I picked up on that. Imagine a little girl has to say that. Is that my daddy? Because, again, like I say, not that I'm putting myself on a pedestal. I'm sitting here driving the bus. Uniform is nice and ironed and a little cologne on. I'm clean shaven. I'm professional. I'm courteous. Looking kind of strong. You know, ain't no red eyeballs from drinking all night the night before. Coherent. And that's a different type of energy than that little girl probably is used to. Maybe her father wasn't up to par. Not to judge. There are some fathers that are up to par and they can't take being around the mother. You know, so we have different situations, but at the end of the day, what is it that we're doing for the overall community? That's all I want to say with that. How does my existence on this planet, in this particular space and time, make a difference for other people? Not to say, well, they need to know I'm here. Why? I'm not narcissistic, but how can I help? What can I do good that I can help? Even if it's just a little few people. Doesn't have to be any big monumental thing that's breaking news. LanceScurv, he got $3 billion in the lottery and gave 2.5 away. I'll invest. I'm not just going to give it away because you don't know whose hands you're putting it in. I'll set up institutions. I'll set up things. I'll get professionals to show me how to do the taxes and do different things, whatever. But why can't we have a mindset of subservience? Not subservience where somebody's going to smack you around, but let me be a servant to you in a manner that I don't think so big of myself. And of course you have to have confidence. Of course you have to have that thing where you not just believe in yourself, but you know in yourself. But lower it a little bit. Lower it down a little bit. Ain't nobody the best in anything. I mean, Muhammad Ali was best for a while in boxing. And we had Mike Tyson come along. We have others come along. Baseball, the same thing. Scholars, revolutionaries. You're just one piece of the puzzle, man. Realize that. We're only going to be here but for a certain amount of time. Leave your mark in a good way. Leave your mark in a good way. Brothers, I can't tell you how to live your life, but serve your community, no matter what it is you do behind closed doors. And really and truly, we should all be keeping our kinks and our fetishes and the things we like to do in the bedroom as an adult. That should not be important. They're engineering us to be on such a lower carnal level. Oh, I got friends of mine that we talk all the time. And remember that girl back in 1984? Man, she put it on you. What am I going to do? Act all straight up like I can't laugh? Oh, that's not funny anymore because my mind is so high. We tell jokes. We make fun of things. Y'all know me. I can get down with the best of them. There's a time and place for that as adults. Like I always say, we always have to be able to laugh when we're in the trenches of life with bullets flying over our head. We have people who are transitioning. We have people who are leaving this earth. We have babies that are being born. There are people who will remember you when you did something jacked up and bad to them. Why can't you make them remember you for something good? It's not about money all the time. It's about lending your ear. It's about really listening to somebody when they're going through stuff. Maybe if you do have some advice or something you can help with that you can help them with that. And sometimes just be there for them. Do you know how important that is? When a person's going through something and you just there. You might spend the night over their house and they want to cry, or you're there and they don't want you to talk. They want to just hear want you to hear what they have to say. Be that for them. They'll never forget that. When people are good, the good people in their lowest moments in our community. What can I do to help? I may not have $1 million. What can I do to help you? Or maybe you're grieving on some level. Or maybe I'll go do the landscaping in your yard. Maybe if you know me enough that I can come and you trust me enough to cook food for you, I'll cook for you. Or I'll bring some extra groceries for you. I'll take you out to a restaurant and buy groceries. I have my family come over and clean up your place. And if you let me and you see, man, you feel cared for. I saw a clip on Facebook where there was a dude in another country who randomly went to a homeless dude laying out in the street, and he helped him to clean up, helped him to get a shave, bought him some new clothes. He was clean. He was still homeless, but it made him feel so much better. Gave him a few dollars for the pocket. It wasn't dollars, it was something else. I forgot what country it was in. But little things that mean a lot that people just don't forget, because when you're at your lowest moment and somebody genuinely reaches out to you to help you, you never forget that. And guess what? It makes you able to do that to somebody else because you see how somebody helped you. But all this demonic stuff out here, spiritually twisted, demonic, and carnal things that we shouldn't even be worried about. You know what I mean? All these black men, what's up with y'all? I said I was not going to talk about it no more. But it should be about your community. Indigo King. Yes, yes, yes. Exactly. Indigo King said, right? With me, little things go a long way. Because it's the feeling behind it. You see what I mean? And the heart behind it. We're all wounded in some kind of way. We've all been hurt. We've all been embarrassed. You know? And I know I'm kind of going across the title and not speaking about that, but really and truly, we have no one else to blame but ourselves. You know, you go through certain black neighborhoods, and when I was driving the bus, and I know this is all over, but I remember going to certain parts. It was Washington Shores. They said the Washington Shores super stop. It really wasn't that big. It was a small terminal where a few buses kind of parked there, and people can make their transfers, because until the other buses came, you couldn't leave. So that was a transfer point. So over the radio, we had to make sure that we were lined up and we didn't leave. Even though it was like, okay, 9:35, you can leave. It's the 21. I'll never forget that, because I did the 21 in Orlando for so many years. And I was legal to leave, but I knew that if those other buses that were coming to catch me to go in that direction were a little late, I'd wait for them. Because I used to whip that bus like it was no tomorrow in a safe way. A little bit being considerate, because I knew certain people that were coming for me and they were going to work at night. And like, Lance, thank you so much. Thank you so much for remembering. Or they might call me directly. Didn't have to wait on the other bus to radio me or anything. You know, because let me tell you something. You have a homegoing service or memorial service, or if you're missing and they don't see you anymore and they have a little get together and they say, hey, man, you know, in memory of so-and-so, we're going to have a few drinks and we're going to just, even if you don't drink, just come on by. The truth comes out. The truth comes out. Now, I'm not saying that the artificial in the church with black folks service, but go out in that parking lot after that. And you're going to hear the real deal about that person. When pastor was reading out their life story and their bio, and I was asking, who the hell was that they talk about? They made him seem like a saint. Did you see them little shapely Wildmans out there in the back? You know what time it was with that. They can't mix with the family because the family didn't know him. But yeah, he knew him quite well. Did you see that little boy sitting in the back row? Looked just like that man in the casket, didn't it? See, they're going to talk. They're going to talk the real deal. They're going to talk the real deal. And it's sad. In such a brief time. Like I said, live to 100 years old and it's your last day. And say if you know it, it's going to feel like it went quick. Live to 1,000 years And if you have the luxury of knowing that that's your last day, some don't want to know it. But if you knew, oh, I wish I had one more day. Now, I'd look a mess at 1,000 years old. And I might look all right for my age now, but no way. I'd have a heart attack if I turned around at 1,000 years old and looked at myself and go, oh my God, what is that? It's so ugly. But it's so brief, this time. And we take it for granted. You see what I mean? We take it for granted. Most people don't even know when they're leaving up out of here. There was a lady who used to ride a moped, little motorized bike, and she would have her groceries on it and ride. And she used to ride the bus. And she got this thing and she stopped riding the bus. So occasionally, sometimes it was pouring down raining or something, but far and few between. But she would always make sure, if she was on the opposite side of the street or at the red light, she honked the horn and wave at me, and I wave at her back and blow a kiss at her. Nothing sexual, just blowing a kiss at her. Yeah, I love you. I miss you. I miss your energy. You're a good person. Well, I saw her on the opposite side when I was going outbound. And we had a little layover and turn around and come back. This is the 21 route. This is the route in Orlando, Florida that people know me from. Dudes in the street didn't know my name. Hey, 21. So in the future, if you see me wearing a football jersey or a basketball, it's going to have 21 on there. That's the meaning behind it. Because I was the master of the 21. Nobody wanted it at night. It went through so many Orlando hoods. And I knew all the brothers and sisters out there. I got nothing but love out there. Dudes were scared. Oh, God, you have seniority. Why are you doing the 21 at night? You can do something to the Lily White neighborhood in the daytime when there's nothing but old ladies going to doctor's appointments. No guns, no drugs, no drama. But I went on the outbound after waving to that lady on the moped. And guess what? When I was on the inbound, she must have got up about 4 or 5 blocks when I saw her. But she got hit. And what I saw was all her groceries all over the street. And I saw her mangled body not too far from the moped. And I saw the helmet that she had on. And her head was still in the helmet, about 25 feet away from the body. You see, my last memory of her was so precious and so sweet. It was a beautiful day. But she didn't know in a few moments her time was coming. We got to live our life in that type of manner. That it might be right now. It might be 5 minutes from now. I'm not saying walk around feeling doomed. Enjoy life, but don't waste it. Budget your time and look at the good. Because bad things will happen. Just as good things will happen. I'm not going to let the bad things stop me from my mission. You can't break my spirit. You see what I mean? Yeah, Indigo King. Exactly. When I ride the bus, I started keeping a sharp object with me. It used to get dangerous sometimes. Of course. It'd be wrong for you not to want to protect yourself. See, we weren't made with claws or long teeth. Everything in nature has a way of protecting itself, large or small. Even a skunk might be easy prey, but it makes that stink and stench come out so much, it chases everybody away. I think there's a couple of brothers I know that really think that they're skunks. It's like they're scared to use soap and water. But yeah, so us as human beings, may I say it, supposedly the highest beings on the planet. But do we act that way? No. So you better keep them sharp objects. You have to. And you're not weak, but you never know what somebody will have. You could take a little 8-year-old boy who's mad with a pair of scissors and he can just slash your balls up. If you don't have anything, or you catches you unexpected, you don't want that. This is the world we live in. I don't want to hear no pastor talking about, well, no, you shouldn't carry no sharp object. You should trust in the Lord. Well, why you got 2 heavily armed bodyguards, big and burly, off-duty cops walking around with you? Shut up. I don't want to hear it. But that's the way of the world. Like Earth, Wind, and Fire made that song. That's the way of the world. Ow. But it's getting more than what we thought it would be. Imagine 10 years from now, if we stay on the same trajectory, 20 years from now, and nobody wants to have any kind of accountability. It's everybody else's fault. You gotta blame it. This is what happened to me. I'm gonna blame this. Yeah, that may start you out on something, but we have to grab the reins. We have to grab the reins and guide the horse. Where are we gonna go with this? We're all handed a deck of cards or a hand of cards out of the deck. What are we gonna do with it? Because you can take what seemingly looks like a losing hand of cards and win the game with good decisions. You see? Indigo King says scientists say we are the only species on the planet that doesn't use our whole brain, barely 10%. And I feel that it's not by mistake. Exactly, it's by design. Because we're too mighty. That if we were using even 75% of our brain, oh man. And I know this to be the truth. And I know some will use more of their brain. But even if they use, like Indigo King said, 10%, even if some of us went back to 15%, it would be such a mighty change. Just 15% from 10. And some may be 17, some may be 9. Some, it's like a cell phone. Pull out your phone. Where's your charge? Where are you at right now? My phone is at 49% right now. If yours is at 100, it's different. You see? So the goal is to vibrate as high as we can and not let these traumatic situations dominate our mind and our thinking to stop us from vibrating high. You know, because there are people I've known that for years they were just doing bad things, doing bad practices, whatever. And this is not everybody, but out of nowhere, overnight, they changed. I'm not going to put the brother's name out there. I'm just going to explain it mildly. I can get very specific and people will know who he is. There's nobody here would know, and nobody here online, but somebody I grew up with. He's deceased right now. He was this particular young man who was my same age, same neighborhood. He was a nice guy, a little peculiar. He wasn't what you would call, you know, the modern day word is developmentally delayed. But back in the day, and I think that boy tarded. Shorthand, verbal shorthand, ebonically gifted shorthand for retarded. That's too insulting of a word right now. We have to be politically correct. And he was the guy that you say, hey, come on, man, take a walk with me. He was always kind of broke. He might have had $10 in his pocket. He would just go walking. He's smiling. Not like a crazy man, but just always in a good demeanor. He was always pleasant to have around. And I missed the guy. And he would take these long walks. And I might ride from Queens to Brooklyn. Now, Queens and Brooklyn share the same borderline. So I can just be right there on one side of the street and jump over to Queens and jump back to Brooklyn. But when you live way deep in Queens and you live way deep in Brooklyn, that's a long point to go to the furthest point of one to the other. So I wasn't at the furthest point, but I was in the middle. And I'd take little drives. And I find myself deep in Brooklyn somewhere and see homeboy, I'll say homeboy, walking slow. And say, hey man, what you doing around here? I don't know, just walking. He was like kind of sad deep down, but he would always keep a forced smile. And he was always pleasant. He was a nice guy. I'd always scoop him up and say, hey man, come on with me. I need you to help me go to Home Depot, or I got to go here, go there. I'm going to have some fun. I'd always make sure to like say, hey, let me bring this brother along. And although I wasn't rich, I'd always had enough money to buy him some fast food if I wanted to treat myself to some fast food. I wasn't always perfect now. I would go to McDonald's too sometime or whatever before I got to know more. And even when I was bodybuilding, I'd pick out every couple of weeks and go do something. I ain't gonna lie. You also saw that picture of me on Instagram with all them Burger King hamburgers. That big thing of apple cider. But yeah, so he wasn't dumb. He was just quiet. But he wasn't trying to keep up with being this guy who has the latest car or dress so snazzy and impress the women or be the tough guy. He was too small to be a tough guy. He was very fragile. He wasn't fragile like you question his sexuality. He just wasn't. He was very, I won't say he was skinny, but He had the little skinny guy muscles, but it didn't amount to much. But he can play basketball. He was just like, he was like so lean. Well, anyway, we hung out a couple of times, and I remember one time I ran into this girl that I knew, and me and him, I took him out to Brooklyn, way out in Brooklyn, and she was like, "Why don't you go upstairs for a little while?" I'm like, "No, I can't do that. I got a buddy of mine," and he was like, "Don't worry about me. You can go on up." I'm like, "Man, I didn't really want to go upstairs with the girl." You know what I mean? It was nice what she did to me last time, but I want to get something to eat and go home. So I ended up going up there for about 30 minutes. He said he didn't mind. He said he wanted to walk around. I know that's what he likes to do. But anyway, I didn't see him for 2 months. So I asked his brother, his older brother, I said, "Hey man, what's going on with your little brother? I always see him walking around, whatever." I know he was an accepted staple in the neighborhood. Everybody trusted him. You know what I mean? Like he would house sit for people and get a little pay, and he's a decent guy, but there was something off about him where he wasn't aggressive enough at those ages. I would say he hit around 22 years old, and I saw him. He would wear little corduroy pants, little floppy things. He wasn't worried about no fashion. He was not trying to be any of that. He was just who he was. And he had a tie on, had a suit on, had shoes that were shiny, had these designer glasses and a cap on, and walking fast. And I called his name. "Hey, man, what's going on?" "Oh, I'm okay, man, but I'm a little busy right now." And walked past me. He had a job. I couldn't believe it. He never had a job before. Not that, he could have been an entrepreneur, but he wasn't even that. But he wasn't even striving for anything. His family, they looked out for him. And I realized what it was, and I can't tell the whole story because it'll be putting this business out because folks will know. I can say this part. He found out, and he just wasn't a nice guy walking around. I found out he got somebody pregnant. He had a baby on the way. But that jump started him. I mean, this guy was working 2 jobs. He wasn't laughing anymore. He went from missing something on the jolly side and being real laid back to now he was ultra serious. And while that was good that he was going to take care of his responsibility, see, a lot of us that realize that we kind of not wasted time, but we could have been a little more frugal with how we indulge in the carnal. And then something gets in us and we want to make up for it, and we get ultra serious. We're going to make up for it. That could be bad too. Don't pressure yourself too much and think that things you've done in the past, unless you mess with babies or beat up grandmothers and stuff or whatever, don't be so judgmental on yourself and so hard on yourself. That's what I've had to learn. I'm always shooting to be the best that I can be, and I'm going to push hard. I'm going to make this happen. Yes, I'm still that way. But I'm enjoying things a little more now. I understand the passage of time more than ever before. And sometimes we can put the pedal to the metal so hard that we spin out, like when the tires and they spin out, and we don't end up going anywhere. Slow it down a little bit. I don't say slow down. I like to go fast. Whoa, I got so much done with the guys that came over to do the work. Had about 15 of them up in here. I was like, yo, we're going to get a lot done today doing different things. Place is dusty. It needs to be cleaned up. And I'm going to leave the dust right where it is because there's another 2 weeks of dust going on in certain areas. Then I'll do one big cleaning, right? So it's a balance. And the title may seem to counter that. We have no one else to blame but ourselves, but take accountability for yourself and your actions. Don't be so hard on yourself and see what you can do for your community. We look, I'm out here in West Africa, in Ghana. And I'm going to say it this way. I'm not trying to stereotype my sisters and brothers from America because I am American. I was born in America. Never was made to feel like what I feel welcome. You know how that goes. You're a stranger in what is supposed to be your own house, even though we were taken away from this place. You know what I mean? But there's no welfare here. There's no Section 8 here. There's no homeless shelters here. They may have a couple of institutions where they deal with the mental illness and they will house you. There's no WIC here. Ain't no food stamps, no EBT card. I'm not saying, well, see, you niggers in America, you're so lazy. No, I'm not saying that because there's some of us who really do need that. We all fall in a slump sometime. What I'm saying is that they're more into the family. And you got corruption here. You got husbands cheating on the wives, wives cheating on the husband, and kids that use drugs and different things. But I'm up in the country where it's a little more wholesome. And I see where they depend more on the family unit. And they have to be accountable because that young girl or young guy, if he did something bad in school, they got to sit around that dinner table with the parents of the family and answer to them as to why. And they don't want that. So when they're out in the street or going to school, coming from school, going to a part-time job, either way, they're thinking, oh no, I cannot do that because my family's not going to accept this. They have a sense of connectedness, the bloodline. Oh, no, I don't want to do this, embarrass my family. They're big on those traditions. Yes, there's a lot of fake Christians out here. Yes, there's a lot of hoodoo out here. Yes, many of the people who call themselves Christians sitting up in there, oh, Jesus, the night before they went to voodoo man. I'm not saying everybody. It is. I know this now more so than ever before. They're not going to say nothing about it. They ain't going to say nothing about it. They just do it for the form and fashion and go, but that's everywhere. Look at the Deep South. Look people up north, all the botanicas and spiritual stores and candles, and they have that little room downstairs in the basement where you go down for your reading, or they tell you what to use to correct a certain situation. That's just been us as a people, y'all. Not to say that some of it is fake. There's some real stuff I've seen out here. Yes, indeed. But nothing beats accountability. And when we find ourselves in a certain situation, like the title says, we have no one else to blame but ourselves because we knew better. And we need each other. We can't look to others to do for us what we need to do for ourselves. I don't care what country you're in. I don't care what age group you're in. I don't care if you're flying a rainbow flag. We need to be accountable to our communities and to each other because all we have is us. You see what I mean? Oh, I didn't see a message, but let me read it out. Indigo King says, I've been having to make myself slow down. My garden keep me busy. I had to jar up some cucumbers, making some pickles, carrots, and green beans, and I've been sharing with friends and neighbors. That's what I'm talking about, brother. That's why I love you so much. Yes, you're doing the right thing. And you're bringing light. Okay, wait, I knocked it out. It's like a jungle and the melons are coming up right behind them, but no weeds, all fruit and veggies. You're connected to nature. That's your way of sharpening your spiritual sword and getting a deeper sense, a gift of discernment. You see what I mean? And you're giving this love to your friends. You see, friends and family. That's a beautiful thing. That's community. That's where we should be going. Have something, you share it. Not somebody using you now, but you know somebody needs something or just that, hey, let's share it. And they share with you, if they can, something different maybe, But we so much into, I'm not saying you or anybody here, into this thing where I got to get mine. And I don't care. I got mine. If they don't get theirs, I don't care. I've had people treat me like that recently. I've had people who I thought was in my inner circle and throw you under the bus and hope to bust your head open. And as you come back slowly and surely, they're looking at you like, oh my God, I didn't kill them off good enough. I'm not necessarily to snuff my life and delete me, but people out here want to break your spirit. I'm not saying everybody, I'm not paranoid, but there's too much of that. There's too many destiny snatchers out here who see you doing something, and instead of being inspired, they want to stop you from you doing what you're doing, and they want to take over. But they weren't designated to be that. So how dare you? When the creator puts somebody in place for something, and that's their post, and that's their task, You're supposed to leave them alone. Let them do what they're supposed to do. Help them, but don't try to stop them, because that's a divine crime that a lot of us knowingly commit. It's a dead serious thing. Listen, I'm going to get up early in the morning. Oh, and as soon as I said that, Miss Tivasation comes in. Greetings, my dear sister. She's another one who is so wise. So wise you are. And you know that. Listen, I was going to sign off. My voice is getting a little hoarse. I'm going to get some tea and some warm fluids in me. I'm well. I'm not sick or anything like that. I'm just moving at the speed of light, getting some things done. You know what it is, Miss Tivasation. Things are coming along fine. We're going to get together. We're going to have a conversation. And we're going to do one of them shows on the conference line or whatever. Still there. You know, and now I'm really budgeting my time doing other things. But I'm close to moving at 100%. Can't maintain it. I might have to drop down to 92 and maintain that. But I'm not going to redline. But I love it because I've lived for these times. You know? Yeah, we were definitely going to chat. Yes, we are. So much to fill you in on. So many visuals I want to share with you too. This morning was just so beautiful when I woke up. Went out there. Oh man. And the plants, it's like they're talking to you. See that Indigo King? You know what time it is with that. And so yeah, we know what you meant. We know what you meant. But really, I hate to leave right now, but I was going to try to push for 2 hours and just ramble on and whatnot. But I'm going to try to come on regular around this time. Like I started at 9:30 my time, but I'm not going to hold myself to it because maybe something I have to go far away, do something, come back late, but I'll still get on and do what I do. I promise that. And I love it. And it's a part of my life that I never stopped, but I wasn't doing it as regular as I'm going to be doing it now. And I'm going to be bringing in some guests and all this stuff. And the studio was done. And, you know, out here, I'll say this, out here in the motherland, not all, everywhere, you know, there's other countries too. We have some work being done right now. There's some young men here that it doesn't make any sense when you live way on the other side of the city. And Accra is huge, and I'm 30 minutes away from Accra. And they live on the other side. So a lot of these guys do. They stay in your house. They're working. They have a person who's over them. He left. He's going to come back, and then they're going to get up at the crack of dawn. Probably all 6 o'clock, if not 5:30, and start working. And they just stopped a little while ago, about an hour ago. An hour ago was 9. When I started the show, one of them said good night. That was 9:30. So it's not about, oh, no, 9 to 5, and I'm getting out of here. Oh, no. When they're in because they want to get paid. They want to get the job done as fast as they can. And they're pretty much going to be here for about a month. On the weekends, they're going to go home, of course, right? I don't mind because they can get everything done faster. But I'm going to be quiet before I talk too much, right? Yeah, let me just read this Indigo King message. I said 2024 is going to be pretty epic. And I would have to say it has been so far. Yes. Yes, indeed. It's the year of truth and the year of progress for the righteous. And there will be obstacles, but you got to know that you're equipped to overcome anything that's in your path because you do have a purpose. And a lot of us don't even realize it. And I draw strength from that, just knowing, hey, wait a second, this person can't stop me. I have a purpose. It may look bad or look down or no, but it's coming. The best is yet to come. And like I said, when I did a little video out there when it was raining, I'm the best version of me that ever existed. I don't mean just like me. That means you and everybody else hearing that. Whether, now some are not because they're not striving for that, right? When you strive to be better every year, imagine you bought a car, let's just say a Toyota Camry, and you bought one back in 1987. And in 2024, it looks the same. You expect it to have some kind of upgrade visually in the engine and its efficiency and the wind drag, you know, all the different things. So we have to get better, even if it's incrementally. It doesn't mean you have to bust out next year. Well, in a year's time, I got a college degree. Maybe if you were locked up and was in the program, you know what I mean? You had time to do that, you know? Oh, yeah, the floodgates, they have been opened on so many different levels. Balance. See, when the floodgates are open, the water rushes out. It looks like confusion. No, but it's rushing out because now it's going to seek its balance. So when the floodgates are open, that's the karma. The balance of good because you deserve it, or the balance of you getting what you deserve. You see what I mean? Let me see. I just got a message and I had to come away from the screen. Hold on one second. It was something that was just sent to me. Yeah. Let me run. Let me run. I'm going to put some more time in. Definitely Friday, Saturday. Tomorrow night I'll be on, right? Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. But I want to put in some humdinger, the good old fashioned, shows and stuff like that. Definitely. But I had to, talk on some things, and I will continue on this subject. Uh, yeah. Muhammad Ali, I was listening to him earlier too. Yeah, that's right. The Imperial March. Dun, 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 dun. It fires me up. It's the stuff we put in that makes the good actions come out of us. You know what I mean? You can't eat potato chips all day and expect to turn around and when you go to the bathroom and see corn. You get out what you put in. Oh, yes, indeed. The old clips. Yeah. Oldies but goodies. But listen, I'm going to run. And it's nice talking and rapping with everybody in my family here. Mm-hmm. This must be a slow night. A couple of folks that said they were going to come and didn't. But there's a few people watching, so that's cool. But anyway, much love to you all. I'll be talking with you all throughout the week. I'm going to hit the sack soon, but I'm going to get a little bite of this. I got a couple mangoes over here that's kind of tempting me. And I'm going to bite into those and hit the sack and get up with the enthusiasm and just hit the pedal to the metal. Anyway, thanks for being here with me. And I will talk to you. We'll hang out tomorrow night. I'll pick a subject that I'll stick to. All right. Take care, y'all. Much love.